meanwhile, has accused the Basic Education Department of misapplying the Protection of Personal Information Act. This is by banning newspapers from publishing the matric results. AfriForum advisor on education rights and private prosecution, Natasha Venter, joins us now. Natasha, good evening. I think from the onset, the Basic Education Department was open in that it said it doesn't fully understand the scope and the limitations of what the POPI Act entails. And I think that's part of why they didn't oppose this application.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me. That is part of the reason why we brought this application. We felt that the decision to justify it based on the POPI Act was irrational, and the POPI Act came into working on in July 2020, not last year as the department has said. So they've had a lot of time to study this legislation, to look at it and to make sure that they comply with it. So now on the 10th of January, 10 days before the matric results would have been released or will be released on news platforms, to then say they're not going to release it to news platforms because of the POPI Act was irrational. And also, as the court agreed with us today, there needs to be a weighing up of rights with regard to the publication of information. That is then the right to privacy and the right of access to information. As we feel that only the examination numbers of students is published on news platforms and in newspapers, their privacy is protected to as much as is possible.
Although we know that at a local level, in communities, in schools, that identity is not as protected because somehow people always find a way of knowing.
And that's up to the schools and the department to protect the privacy of the pupils and to protect this information according to the POPI Act. But by not publishing the matric or the examination numbers in the papers will lead to rather to prejudice the learners who are far away from their schools, who cannot access their results at school, and who need access to the media platforms to see their results.
What about the fact that individual matric learners can sign up for multiple services, some of them free, where your results will be SMS'd, in some instances even WhatsApped to you?
Yes, we've now seen the department has made a platform available, but according to the department's own statistics, only 10,000 matriculants from last year have registered on this website. And we're not sure, as the 1 million matriculants, if only 10,000 have registered, how will they be able to get their results? And what if this website should crash? Will no students be able to access their results? If it's available in the media, at least they will have that avenue to follow as well.
Let's talk about the organization that was one of the applicants in this matter, Marula Media. What does it do?
Marula Media is also a media house, so they are only an online media house. They publish articles, and they also have also published the matric results in the past.
So is there an economic imperative for Marula to have fought this matter in court, i.e., if they don't publish the results on their website, they're likely to have, let's say, less people coming onto the platform than they were this time last year when they did publish results, and therefore might derive less revenue?
And I think that's not only an issue for Marula, it's an issue for all the media houses and the newspapers who have already made arrangements and have maybe bought more papers to publish these results because they know that on these days circulation is higher. And they planned for this, and now the department comes and says 10 days before the results would be released, without consulting any of the media houses or SANAF, as we've seen, they just decide not to publish the results in the media. And that is also why we brought the application to overturn this decision.
So ultimately, the considerations that you made were not just about, let's say, in the interests of the individual learners, but there were some commercial imperatives.
Well, there are a lot of factors to consider. Obviously, the learners also will benefit from this, from having their results readily available. The public needs to have access to this information. It's in the public interest that we know how many matriculants passed last year, what the statistics are, and various role players want to analyze this data. So there's a lot of factors to take into consideration, and that is why we are so happy with the outcome in court today.
AfriForum advisor on education rights and private prosecution, Natasha Venter. Let's leave it there for this evening.